Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through a fascinating and honestly pretty tragic folktale. It's a story that proves just how powerful and sometimes destructive our everyday choices can actually be.
So let's dive right in. Have you ever told a lie just to get out of an awkward situation? We've all been there, right? It's this universal human instinct. You're put on the spot, and instead of just giving a straightforward no, you invent some elaborate excuse. Well, the story we're examining today takes that exact, super relatable premise and pushes it to its absolute most catastrophic extreme. Part 1. The Unwanted Suitor. Our story kicks off in the peaceful setting of Kampung Urang, where two sisters named Tetes and Tejo are living a quiet, content life. But that peace doesn't last long. It gets completely shattered by the arrival of an unexpected suitor. The source text describes a man named Wangkol Urang. Now, he's known around the village for having a notably gentle manner, which was distinctly different from most of the men there. Pleasant enough, sure, but his arrival puts the sisters in a very, very tough spot. He walks right up and presents a very direct proposal. I would like to marry one of you. Boom. Hearing this, the sisters immediately exchange those classic awkward glances. They simply don't want to marry him, but they also desperately want to avoid the sheer discomfort of rejecting a nice guy right to his face. Part 2. A dangerous bluff. So instead of just ripping the Band-Aid off and saying no, the sisters huddle up. They decide to use a stalling tactic. They figure, hey, if we set an impossible condition, he's going to just give up and leave on his own. Talis lays the groundwork for this supposedly impossible challenge, telling him, if you are truly sincere, then prove your intentions first. Now that sounds like your standard fairy tale challenge, right? But the specific proof they ask for, that is where things go terribly, terribly wrong. I want you to notice how absurdly destructive this bluff is. Tejo adds this specific condition, go to Kampung Tetek and burn down the village. To them, this is a joke. It's an easy out. Nobody in their right mind would actually do this, especially a man known for his gentle manner. They are absolutely confident he will simply turn around and walk away. Wangkol Orang is understandably, visibly surprised by this wild request. He asks, is that really the condition I must fulfill? But the sisters are fully committed to the bit at this point. They just nod. They insist that, yep, this is the ultimate proof of his sincerity. They refuse to back down. But then, the unthinkable happens. He actually agrees. He thinks for a moment and calmly replies, very well, I will do it. And wow, this is the exact moment the entire narrative flips. What started as a lighthearted, almost comedic social dodge plummets straight into impending disaster. Part 3. The Tragic Escape. The very next day, their theoretical bluff becomes a terrifying, inescapable reality. The sisters look out and see actual flames rising high into the sky. Wangkol Arung actually kept his word. Pale with fear, Tetes vocalizes their absolute horror, saying, I never imagined he would actually do it. Suddenly, they realize that if he comes back after committing this massive atrocity just for them, they are in serious, serious danger. By trying to avoid an awkward rejection, they've literally unleashed total chaos. Their immediate reaction is pure panic. They frantically flee Kampung Urang, running as fast and as far as they possibly can, until their escape is cut short. They hit a natural barrier, a formidable deep river. With nowhere left to run, they are forced to stop. It's here that we get this momentary, beautifully poetic pause in the middle of all the chaos. Exhausted, the two sisters rest on a large rock right in the middle of the river. And perhaps to mark their presence or to leave a legacy of who they were before this entire nightmare started, Tejo carves a star into the stone, and Tetse carves a moon. But as you might guess, that fragile piece is instantly shattered. Out of nowhere, they hear terrifying rustling noises creeping up on them from the brush nearby. Already on edge and completely exhausted, this unknown sound sends them into absolute panic. Imagine their absolute dread as Tetes anxiously whispers, what if it is Wangkol Urang? Tejo agrees, terrified that he has already found them. They are entirely convinced that the man who literally just burned a village to the ground has tracked them down to claim his prize. Overcome with fear and just entirely unable to think clearly, Tejo voices their tragic final option. Faced with a man who took their destructive words completely literally, she declares,
It would be better to jump than to be captured. Without pausing to think or even taking a second to verify what was actually making that rustling sound, Tetes nods in agreement. They execute this desperate escape plan, leaping into the gorge together and ultimately disappearing into the dark, deep waters beneath the river.
Part 4. The Weight of Words.
From that tragic day onward, the local community refused to let the sisters' hasty choices be forgotten. The exact geographical location where they jumped was officially named Tetes Tejo. It became an enduring physical monument, an anchor for the region's cultural memory, and a very specific, lasting moral lesson for anyone who visited. You see, this folktale is passed down from generation to generation specifically to remind us of some fundamental human responsibilities. It teaches us that we must consider our words carefully and weigh every single action. It highlights the deep psychological danger of extreme conflict avoidance. When we try to escape an awkward truth with a lie, we still have to take responsibility for the fallout. Because ultimately, as we've seen here, a bluff is never really just a bluff. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Are you truly prepared to be responsible for the consequences of your words? Consider that the next time you're tempted to bluff your way out of a difficult moment, rather than just facing an uncomfortable truth head on. Thank you so much for diving into this fascinating tale with me today. And remember to keep exploring the stories that shape our world.